Wow. Now, let's see if this format actually works better. Okie dokie. I'm just going to nip across to, I'm going to open another page at the moment just to see if this stuff is working. So I'm going to go and check this via another medium. Right. So are we going live? And is this working? Nice to know if it is actually working. Well, I've got my t-shirt tucked in there for. So are we going live? And can you hear me? Okay. I really want to get this stuff sorted out because I get so many requests for a live stream. Well, hey, how you doing, Ant? Nice to see you. Is this working okay? Can you hear me? Is it all juddery or is it stable? I really, really like to know because, as I said, this is something that I keep getting requests for to go live stream. So it'd be nice to know if it's actually working. So there's a couple of people watching. Hey, thank you very much, Ant. Right, okay then. Over on my thank you, Mark. I'm glad I've got this sorted out at long last. And hopefully now I'm going to be able to do streaming on both of my YouTube channels. As I said, it is probably the most requested thing that I get. So it's just that I have to go in through Google Chrome to get this to work for some reason. It doesn't like Firefox. It doesn't like Safari. And I'm guessing this is some sort of Google thing. Yeah. If you don't use our search engine, well, then we're going to fuck you quite righteously up the arsehole. Picture as dark libs. Yes, that's because I am sitting in. I've got issues when I'm on a particular painkiller and stuff, and it kind of messes with me vision. Yeah, I get a little bit of light sensitivity going on. Anyone that's met me out in the real world knows that I pretty much walk around in sunglasses or I wear tinted shades when I'm outside. As you can see, these have got tinted shades too. It's just that I have issues with one of my medications that make me very light sensitive, so I tend to keep me curtains shut. But I shall try and get that sorted out in the near future, Mark. I'll try and get some better lighting going on. Hang on a minute. Let's see if I can get some better light. See what I mean? What I might do is flip the room around so that you're getting natural daylight on me, and then I can wear my tinted shades, and then we won't have this issue with lighting. You're still trying to figure your channel out, and well, yeah, it is a lot of trial and error. I have to admit, when I started out in my early days, it took me a long time to get my head wrapped around everything. And the thing of it is with Google, YouTube, over the years, yeah, in the old days, everything used to be very, very, very simple, and it was very simple to live stream onto YouTube too, because we used to do it via Google Plus. So if you went live on Google Plus, you could have the option of going live also on YouTube if you had particular tools, which I've got because I was a branded partner and I still am. So, and it made things a lot easier that way. So we used to be able to live stream straight from Google Plus straight onto YouTube. But somebody at Google in their infinite wisdom has decided that they want us to do things another way, which is not simple. Even page setup, I mean, putting a banner in your page and all this, it has to be a particular size, it has to be a particular layout. We used to be able to do all this stuff a whole lot easier. We used to be able to put backgrounds on our channel pages as well, you know, real quality, nice, you know, backgrounds. You can't do that no more. Everything's, yeah, it's all shitty really compared to how it used to be. The simplicity of YouTube is gone, and for some reason Google in their infinite wisdom have decided that they want to make everything a whole lot more complicated. And stuff like this live streaming used to work beautiful through Firefox. Now for me it just refuses to work through Firefox. I've tried umpteen different ways to try and get it to work. I've tried umpteen different types of software. I've even paid for software to go live streaming. And yeah, it's all a lot of bollocks. Right, okie dokie. So I said an update. I was going to give an update about this Malta issue. Now, I actually believe that the Maltese government are violating EU rules in regards to bringing vehicles from other EU countries onto the island of Malta. Now, for instance, if I buy a vehicle, yeah, over in France, and I want to bring it to the UK, if I've paid the VAT on that vehicle in France, I can bring it into the UK without being hammered. Okay, and I believe it costs around I believe it costs around about £80 UK pounds, which is basically the equivalent of, I think it's about 85 euros at the minute or something stupid like that. It might even be 82 euros to take off the plates, the registration plates from the continent, and actually transfer it across to UK plates through DVLA. But not in Malta. You bring a vehicle across from the continent and you take it across to Malta. Registration fees over there for the camper van, the van that I actually got my eye on at the moment, yeah. Unless the magical tooth fairy drops, I don't know, the equivalent, was it 2,300 euros? This is what they want, 2,300 euros to register my vehicle in Malta. Yeah, to get the Maltese plates on it. Yeah, and that's before I even get onto the insurance and everything else. Yeah, no. I think that is actually a violation of EU rules, because the whole point of this, everybody, you know, this whole VAT thing is that if you pay VAT and everything in one country, yeah, you don't get hammered when you go into another EU country. But I believe that the Maltese government are circumventing that whole thing by basically shafting you up the rectum when it comes to registration fees to get the actual Maltese number plates put onto your vehicle. It is outrageous. They actually want of what I would pay for my camper van to register it on the island. And that's the thing that's holding me up, because I'm telling you, if that wasn't in place, I would have been on my way last week. But yeah, as soon as I start doing the checkups, because the thing of it is, you see, I've got a little bit of an issue with absolute free movement of people, yeah, across the EU. I've always had that mindset when it comes to that sort of thing, yeah, because the countries only have certain amount of resources, you know, and when you have a massive influx of people, it kind of puts a massive strain on those resources. I'm the kind of person that believes if you want to go and live in another country, yeah, you apply to be a citizen, or you apply for residency, which is basically what I want to do in Malta. I want to apply for residency, yeah, to live in Malta, to be able to start a business and pay into the system. But because of the way they've got things set up with this registration fee, the moment I register to become a resident, I'm no longer a visitor. And under that rule, that's when they're going to shaft me up the arse to register my vehicle in Malta. But the funny thing of it is, they don't seem to have this same issue when it comes to motorcycles. It cost me pennies, literally pennies, to register my motorcycle in Malta. I've gone through all that as well, yeah. It's, I believe it's 377 euros and a few cents. I got no problem with that. Absolutely no problem with that. But to get hammered up the arse, yeah, for I believe it was something like 2,300 and some odd euros and God knows how many cents to register the vehicle on the island. And to be quite honest with you, the registration fee is pretty much, it's about the same as what it is for me to buy the vehicle. So before I've even, you know, got my shit together, there's £5,000 gone for starters. It's just mind bending that. And the thing of it is, the excuse And this is what gets me about this. The excuse, the reason why they have these extortionate registration fees is apparently, apparently it's to help local businesses. Now, I can't see how that actually helps local businesses, you see, because the fact of the matter is, here's for example. This is why I can't see how it helps local businesses, okay? A friend of mine who lives on the island, I showed him basically the vehicle that I could buy here for £2,500. Yeah, duty-free vehicle that have checked up due to disability if you're entitled to duty-free vehicle. No, the thing of it is, Mark, the registration fee is what it is. Yeah, it's the registration fee to register the vehicle on the island as somebody that's a resident. Okay, I can visit the island. And I can stay there for XYZ amount of time. I haven't got to worry about re-registering the vehicle. I can drive it on my own insurance, blah, 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 blah. But the moment I apply to be a resident, that's when they're going to shaft me. Because I believe that if you want to go and live in somebody else's country, then you should apply. You should, if you've got something to offer, if you want to start a business or something, I don't agree with all this absolute no holds barred, freedom of movement, because you have like what we've got in the United Kingdom here, and you'll have people denying it. That's that's all propaganda. But when you've got a system like your National Health Service, your transport system, your road system, the housing, and everything else, and then all of a sudden, and everything's going along nice and smooth, and then all of a sudden, you've got hundreds upon thousands of people coming to live in your country, which is what's happened in the United Kingdom. It puts a massive strain on the system. And this is the reason why I don't agree with this unfettered free movement of people. And on the strength of that, this is why I believe that if I want to move to Malta, then I go through the proper system, apply for residency and all the rest of it, and then basically cash in my pot in April when I can get my hands on it and invest it into the country. That's how I believe you should do things. That's just how it is. But when you have unfettered immigration into a country, it puts an untold strain on your local services and everything, which is what we're having now. We have got a major problem in this country now. I remember a time of day, you could turn up at accident and emergency at a hospital, and you could probably be in and have everything dealt with. If you're a walk-in accident emergency, like you got a broken arm or something, you could probably get dealt with, see the doctor and, everything else. You could probably do that in an hour and a half to 2 hours. Now you're looking at 5 to 6 hours wait. And that's where I live, where the population's a lot lower. You've got hours and hours and hours and hours of wait, unless it's an absolute emergency, just to get to see the doctor. That's before you go off and have your x-rays, where you have to sit for hours and hours and hours and hours more. This is why I have this big issue with mass immigration, unfettered. I'm one of these people that believe if you want to go and live in somebody else's country, you do things the right way. And to me, the right way is you apply for your residency and everything else. But that's just me. That's how I was brought up. And from what I'm seeing going on here, it has put an untold strain on everything, on public transport, on doctors' surgeries, on the hospitals, on housing, on the road system. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? If you've got a system that's set up to to work well for, say, 50 million people, and then all of a sudden you've got 62 million people within the space of, say, 10 years or whatever, it's untold strain. It's logic. But for some people, logic goes out the window, because they're so wrapped up in this whole world, one world thing, and no borders and all this and free movement. And I just can't go with that. I just can't, because I'm actually seeing it. I'm old enough to remember what it was like before we had this unfettered immigration system. And then the other thing, what they're doing is in the United Kingdom, and this is something else that really pisses me off, because very, very good friends of mine have been deported from the UK because they're not earning £35,000 a year. Yeah, this is one of the other reasons I've got this big major problem with it. Now, these are people that are married to British citizens. They've lived here for decades. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, because they're not earning £35,000 and they're not an EU citizen, they're being deported. Yeah, somebody can come over here from the EU, not have two halfpennies to scratch their arse with, be a burden on the system, and they're allowed to stay. You see, and this is where the issues for me come into play. And this is why I believe you should, if you want to go and live somewhere, you apply to live there, and that's that. That's just me. But this whole thing with, €2,300 to register a vehicle in another EU country, yeah, even though the VAT would be paid on it here, is just astronomical. It's just astronomical. And it seems to me, I've gone and looked how it is in other countries around the EU, and it just seems to me that the Maltese government are the only government in the whole EU that have decided to shaft everybody up the arse. Now, I'm going to get back to this thing about where they claim that it helps local business. It does not help local business, because let's say, for instance, you're a delivery company and you want a vehicle. Yeah. Now, as I said, my friend, a very good friend of mine in Malta, sent me a link to a vehicle that's for sale, basically a van that's for sale in Malta at the moment. Yeah. And in Malta, they want €14,000 for this vehicle. And that is before the VAT has even been put on top. Okay. So you've got the VAT to go on top of that as well. That's €14,000 for the exact same vehicle. And I'm talking about the same vehicle, same wheelbase length, same year, same mileage, same make, same model. I can buy that van with the VAT paid on it, yeah, for £6,000, which equates to about €6,008. Okay, so how the hell is that helping the local businesses? Because all of that has to get loaded, as you can plainly see from that one vehicle. All of that has been loaded onto the price of that vehicle. Yeah, so if a business wants a new delivery vehicle, they're getting shafted up the arse. They're paying, well, nearly 3 times what it would cost them to buy that vehicle and set it all up elsewhere in the EU. And that, to me, is absolutely wrong. Yeah, that is absolutely wrong on so many levels. And it does not help the businesses, because what it does then, the business that buys that van, yeah, has to get that, recoup that extra outlay, yeah, which means their services are more expensive in the long run. So, and then that goes on, and that then hurts the people as well. Yeah, because the people are then having to pay extra for that service, because the person that's providing that service is had to load the extra cost onto that service because of how they've already been shafted up the arse when they wanted to buy the van for the service. So it just seems to me that it's the government of the country that's doing this. Yeah, and they're doing it on the premise that it's to protect local businesses. And personally, I can't see how that protects or helps local businesses, because they're loading them up with a whole load of extra expense. And then, it's to basically stop people from bringing vehicles over from the EU and selling them here cheaper prices, which then protects the car dealerships. No, it doesn't. That's bollocks. Because the car dealerships could then bring their cars across from the continent and be able to offer them to the people for a cheaper price, which then businesses can invest in those vehicles. They don't then put on an extra load of cost for their customers. If you see what I mean, this is where this mad socialist ideal comes into play. This is a socialist idea. They've probably made so many fuck ups with the finances of the country, and now they're trying to recoup some of it. But at the end of the day, what they're doing is they're actually hurting their citizens, and they're hurting business. And it's the same as what my old granddad used to say, socialism's all great until they run out of everybody else's money. Do you know what I mean? Because that seems to be the way it is. It's a terrible system. So yeah, as I said, and unless some magical tooth fairy comes along and drops €2,300 into my bank account, I've got to stay here until I can work up that money and get it put into my savings, yeah, and then do the Oski. Had it not been that way, yeah, I would have been gone last week. Literally, I would have been gone last week. I was stood there in front of the vehicle going, yes, that's absolutely perfect for what I want. I contacted a friend over in Malta and said, you know, is there any way that we can get this done so I can put different windows in the side of it and get certain interior done on it? Yeah, not a problem. I was stood there with the guy waiting to do the deal. But as soon as I went and did my checkups about registration fees, you know, it was like, you know, somebody got a gun out and, and shot me in the head, you know. So because it's not just that, it's the cost of taking it across the continent as well. Yeah, there's a, you know, taking it across the continent, paying all the tolls on their toll roads, you know, yeah, I could cover all that, the ferry fares, all the rest of it, yeah, and I could still have enough on standby in my bank to be able to live on, yeah, and pay my way, because that's one thing I absolutely believe in. I don't believe in fucking scamming off of other people's tax money, yeah, people that have paid into the system. I don't believe in all that stuff. Yeah, I've been living off my savings since I was, you know, since I since I was diagnosed with this, and those people who saw me out in the EU, out in Malta, that literally saw me a couple of weeks ago. You remember what my bones look like, my hands and everything? Yeah, now look at the fucking things. That's a couple of weeks back in the UK, all crippled up again. So, but I would have been gone last week. I would have been gone last week. You know, and as I say, you know, if I could sell 400 t-shirts, I'll be fine. No, I've got to basically sit here now and do a whole lot more. Yeah, it's just a load of bollocks. Why don't I leave the van on British plates? Because, yeah, and I've been doing some reading up on this. I've been on the forums. I can only keep it on British plates for a certain amount of time. Yeah. As soon as I apply for residency, it all changes. Yeah. When you apply for residency, it all changes. And you got to bear in mind that the United Kingdom is leaving the EU on the 29th of March. Okay. We will no longer be a member of the EU on the 29th of March. And to ensure my future and the fact that to be able to stay on the island and be safe, and in the knowledge that I can stay on the island, residency is the way to go. Because I've got an issue with all this free movement of people, Mark. Do you know what I mean? I've got a real issue with it, and I actually want to become a resident on the island. I want to, you know yourself more than anyone. We've had some really deep conversations about this stuff in Messenger. You know, I actually want to invest in the island. I want to start a business on the island. Yeah. And for me, the only real way to go about this and ensure my future, that I can stay on the island, because none of us know what's going to happen. None of us know what's going to happen when Britain officially leaves the EU on the 29th of March. European countries could then start turning around and saying, well, you know, you came here under free movement. You're not actually a citizen. Time to go. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, I'm one of these people that covers all my bases. Yeah. And the only way to actually ensure that I don't have this come up and hit me in the chops after the 29th is to apply to become a resident on the island. Yeah, a permanent resident. It's permanent residency with vehicles and all this registration stuff. This is when it starts getting really technical, Mark. And this is why it's causing me so many problems. It's causing me untold problems this end. Otherwise, like you said, you know yourself, mate, we've spoken at this at length. I would be on that plane tomorrow. Yeah, I would be absolutely on the plane tomorrow. The chat appears to have disappeared. Oh, here we are again. Right, what's this? Ant Squirrely. We had something like that here in Florida. Called it impact fees. It was for when people move down. No, this is registration fees. This is to take the vehicle off of the UK plates and have it put on to Maltese plates. Yeah, because you can only have a vehicle on the UK plates in Malta for a limited time. Yeah, now there was a time when you could come to the, you could go to the island, you could keep it on the island for a certain amount of time, and then if you took it off the island and you went to say somewhere like Sicily and everything, you had the little disc and everything all put on the window, and that when you returned, you could then keep it on those plates for a bit longer. But I'm not going to be going there as a visitor. This is the thing, I'm not going there as a visitor. Yeah. Leave the van on British plates for 2 years, then change them. Mark, I've looked into this. Yeah, you might want to look into this a little bit deeper, because as soon as I become a resident, I'm no longer a visitor. Okay, this is where they're using the red tape. I'm no longer a visitor. Yeah, I become a resident on the island. And that's when they'll shaft me, because as a resident, you can only have a vehicle on foreign plates for a very limited time. I've been speaking to people. They said, no, they forced us to put our vehicle on a ferry and ship it out. You know, I've been looking into this. But the thing of it is as well, it just seems to me that they seem to change the rules every 5 minutes too on this sort of thing. It really is outrageous. I actually think that what I might do is actually speak to somebody at vehicle registrations, because as I say, you know, there's several different lots of information on their website, but you know, it all kind of contradicts each other at some point down the road. They say, oh well, you can do it for this long, but then they'll shaft you this way. You know, it's you know, I'm not going to Malta as a visitor. I'm going to Malta to become a citizen, to become a resident on the island permanently. Yeah. And I think that's where they're getting me. That's where they're going to get me. You know, 2 years on British plates. From what I've been reading, it's months. Literally, it's months. But it all changes as soon as you become a resident. I'm no longer a visitor, you see, and that's where it changes. I'm really sorry to hear that, Tina. Yeah, cancer is that's what took my dad. Yeah, it's evil disease. I wish him all the luck with that one. The chemotherapy is not much fun, but I guess he's got to have radiation as well, which is thankfully something I didn't need to have myself. Yeah, I didn't need to have the radiation. No, it's not like that. Let me get this right. Let's get this right, okay? I want to leave the United Kingdom to go and live in a warmer climate because of my health issues. Yeah, they go into remission as soon as I'm in a hot climate. Yeah, I'm not intending on moving to an EU country under free movement of people. Yeah, which is what I object to. This is why I'm going under applying for permanent residency. Yeah, which means I have to have a whole load of background checks done on me. They have to do all my bank checks and all the rest of it, the same as if I was emigrating. Yeah. So I don't want to use, this is the thing, it's something I object to. I object to people having all this unfettered free movement. Yeah. And if I'm going to go and live in somebody else's country, I actually object to that type of thing. Yeah. I'm going to do things as what I consider to be the way that I would wish and hope that people would do it if they came here. Apply for residency. All right. That's how it is with me. Okay. So that's it. I don't want to abuse these EU rules because, you know, no, that's just not how I operate. That is just so not how I operate. You know, I didn't even realize, yeah, that my condition goes into remission when I get into a hotter climate until I went to Israel last year. When I went to Israel last year, within 2 days of being in Israel, I noticed no pain, no painkillers. I could walk. Yeah, I had no pain in my hands. My body was, you know, feeling really, really healthy. You know, and then I visited Malta and the same thing happened, only it happened a whole lot quicker. Yeah, it was literally, you know, the day after I arrived, I started thinking, wow, I feel a whole lot better. Yeah. But I just, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not one of these people that is, because I object to unfettered free movement. Yeah, I'd rather go down the path of applying for residency. Yeah, which means a whole load of checks being done on me and all the rest of it, which is how I wish it was still done here, because then we wouldn't have a lot of the problems that we have here in the United Kingdom. And that's how it is. So, yeah, I campaigned for years, as you know. Yeah, I did. I admit it. I campaigned for years for Britain to leave the EU for a number of reasons. And the main reason is that I believe that when we vote a government into power, yeah, that government should be who controls, makes the laws and everything else for the country. I do not believe that an organisation that is across the sea, yeah, should be governing what goes on here and telling our government, who we vote into office, what they should be doing. Yeah, the government in a country should be doing what the people want, not what some bureaucratic organisation wants to do over on the continent. Okay, and that's how it is with me. Yeah, it's Britain was a sovereign country. We haven't been a sovereign country for quite some time now, and we lost our sovereignty in its truest sense when our Labour government signed the Lisbon Treaty and tied us into all this other shit. That's how we feel about London in Scotland. Yeah, exactly. So you know exactly where I'm coming from. I've got a lot of Scottish mates who actually think and feel the same way. I actually think and feel the same way. Yeah, I've got a lot of Scottish mates who think that. But then again, when you actually think about it, the Scottish MPs that sit in our Parliament down in London, they hold a lot of sway. They hold a hell of a lot of sway. They've blocked a hell of a lot of stuff going on, that could be beneficial for the South. So, but I actually understand what you're saying. It's Scotland being governed, because Scotland is essentially a country. It's what it should be called is the United Kingdoms, plural, not the United Kingdom. Yeah, because you got Wales in there, you got Scotland in there, and you got Northern Ireland in there. Yeah, and they're entities in their own right. Didn't I live up there? No, I didn't actually live in Scotland for a bit. No. I've got friends in Scotland who I've visited. I used to go up to Scotland quite a lot when I worked for a particular company. I used to have to travel up to Scotland quite a lot. But yeah, this is you guys probably can understand this logic of mine. You wouldn't appreciate it, yeah, because English people can go and live in Scotland. They can move there, in their hundreds of thousands, yeah. But you wouldn't appreciate it if all the English people all of a sudden decided they all wanted to come and live in Scotland and put a massive burden on your system, your services, and everything that you've already got there. Yeah, so it's you can probably understand it a little bit better than what I can. You can understand it a little bit better than what a lot of other people can. You see, it's if I don't agree with all this unfettered free movement of people. Yeah, it's nice having sort of like a system where you can, be able to travel across European countries and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, without a hell of a lot of restrictions and stuff. It's nice that, you can just walk up with your passport and put it on the thing and you got no problems moving from one country to the next. Yeah, the Schengen and all that. But I have this big, big issue, yeah, when it comes to unfettered immigration. That part of, see, had the EU not done that, yeah, and had the EU not tried to impose their laws on us, I would never have requested that we leave the EU. Absolutely not. And I'll tell you exactly what got me going on the EU, because I didn't have an issue with it until they started to make laws, yeah, back in 1990 that would affect motorcyclists here. They were trying to implement in the United Kingdom so-called safety, yeah, a safety device, yeah, which was proven to be really, really dangerous. Okay, and we fought against that. There was us, there was a motorcycle action group in the United Kingdom, there was FEM, which is the Federation of European Motorcyclists. That everybody said this idea was ludicrous. Yeah, and that it would cause a whole lot of injuries. And even the British Standards Institute did a whole load of tests on it and said, no, this could be fatal for a lot of motorcyclists with particular kinds of bikes. It could be fatal. And the EU were persistent in it, keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it until in the end they had no choice but to retract it and say, no, okay, then we're not going to do this now. But that's really what got me into looking closer at the EU. English immigrants cost us our sovereignty. Majority of Scots-born voters voted for Indy. They probably did, actually, yeah. I know a lot of my friends in Scotland voted for independence. Absolutely. Yeah, I know a hell of a lot of my friends that actually voted for independence because of that. And as you say, you've got a whole lot of people that have gone to live in Scotland from England and Wales, yeah, that were allowed to vote. You know, and they shouldn't have been. It should have just been Scottish citizens. The same as anything to do with England should just be English. Same as anything to do with Wales should just be Welsh. Yeah, that's how I feel about all this thing. You know, it's you know, governments and officials in other places making decisions for people where they don't actually physically live themselves. And I've got a big issue with that. And that's why I've got this big issue with the European Union. I've got this big issue with the European Union. And I'll tell you why I've got another big issue with the European Union too. Because companies like Google, yeah, Amazon, yeah, these big corporations, they decided that they were going to set up their UK, yeah, office as part of their European setup. So, for instance, what you've got is you've got Amazon UK. Their actual main headquarters is in Luxembourg. Yeah, and what they've done is they've made it part of their European operations, and that's how Amazon wiggle out of paying their corporation taxes, which they would have to pay here, yeah, if they were forced to have their actual UK headquarters based in the UK. They would have to pay their corporation taxes here in full, but they don't. They get a sweetener deal in Luxembourg, and that's where they pay it. And the same goes for Google. This very company who hosts this, you know, this YouTube, yeah, their main UK is part of their European, and that is actually based in Ireland. Yeah, that's based in Ireland. So the Irish government over there, they gave them a little bit of a sweetener to incorporate it all there, and that's why they don't pay all of their proper corporate taxes here. Do you know what I mean? It's opened up a whole load of loopholes and stuff for corporations to avoid paying corporate tax in actual the United Kingdom. They actually have their United Kingdom headquarters as part of their European headquarters, and they have it in a different country where they get a sweetener on it, and then they pay absolute fucking pennies here in the UK. And to me, again, that's wrong. Again, that is something that has come about because of rules in the EU and loopholes, which they keep saying they're going to try and close these loopholes, but I don't see any closure of these loopholes because these corporations make a shitload of money, and like any political entity, yeah, they receive money from these corporations. All right. It's the EU has got nothing to do about for the benefit and the good of people. It's for the benefit and good of corporations. Corporations are the only people that actually truly benefit from our membership of the European Union. They're the only people that actually really gain anything, because there's a whole load of rules and regulations there that allow them to shaft other countries up the arse by basing their headquarters in the country that gives them the best deal. And that to me is absolutely wrong. It's wrong on so many levels. That's why a lot of these corporations get away with not paying proper corporation taxes in the United Kingdom. And I mean, look at it. We got Starbucks again. Starbucks again. They said they were going to move their European operations and everything, their UK operations to the UK. 126 million in profits they made in the UK. They paid £4.4 million in corporation taxes. And then everyone turns around and starts blaming our government. Oh, it's the government's fault. It's the government's fault. Well, if it was the government's fault, they wouldn't be taking them into court to try and actually get more money out of them. It's not. It's European regulations and rules. It's allowing them to shaft everybody up the arse. It's just, and again, it goes back to this bloody VAT thing again. I'll pay VAT here. I shouldn't be shafted up the arse if I go to somewhere else within the European Union. Yeah, if I've paid my VAT already, I should only, it's beyond a joke. There should be a level playing field as well when it comes to, registration of vehicles. It's airbags for bikers. Yeah, not sure about that one. Not sure about that one in the slightest. Airbags in your clothes, maybe. Yeah. It's maybe you have a little tag that plugs in, and if you get thrown from the vehicle and it pulls the tag out, whoosh, you get, yeah, maybe that might be a little bit, but I'm a little bit dubious about all this airbags on bikes. It's something I've always questioned. You see these people saying they've done these tests for this, these tests for that, but at the end of the day, when you crash a motorcycle, anything can happen. Yeah, anything can happen. It's not a controlled situation. Anything can happen. Anything. So yeah, when they do these tests, these are controlled tests. When you're out on the road, yeah, it's total unpredictability. It's I don't know about all this airbag stuff on motorcycles. I mean, I hit the side of a Sherpa van at 55 miles an hour. I'm not sure that an airbag would have helped any. In fact, I think it probably would have made the situation worse. But airbags on bikes, no. Airbags in cars, yes, because you're strapped in, yeah, and it's there, and it's to stop you from smashing into the dashboard and all this sort of stuff. But I'm not sure about on a motorcycle, because if you think about it, if you've got this airbag that opens up, body travels up, it can flip the body and all this sort of stuff. So, and as I say, crashes are unpredictable. You can't predict exactly how you're going to land, how you're going to take off, or any of that stuff. When you have a crash on a motorcycle, I think the scenarios are just so unpredictable that you couldn't really effectively say, let's put airbags on bikes because of this. Airbags are only on motorcycles. I think they'll only actually be of any use in particular circumstances. And as we all know, anyone that rides a motorcycle, you could, a bike could start going down on its side, and then all of a sudden you could have a higher side and it could flip over. Where does an airbag go then? I mean, I think it just adds more cost to the machine. It'll add a hell of a lot more cost to the machine. And and if somebody just drops their bike and it goes poof, that's a whole lot of money to have a new bag installed. I've seen cars written off, because they're beyond economical repair just because the airbag's gone off. So no, airbags on motorcycles, I don't think so. I've seen many motorbikes get blown over in the wind. That shock, boom, off goes the airbag. It goes to the shop. It could become, uneconomical repair, literally because that airbag's gone off. I don't see that as an advantage to anyone, to be quite honest with you. I mean, a motorcycle, you hit the side of a car if you're doing sort of 30 miles an hour in a 30 zone, 40 in a 40, 50. I do not see how an airbag could actually help you in that situation. Airbag clothing maybe, where you have like a tag that plugs in and it's attached to, the bike. And if you leave the bike, boom, yourself at a rate of knots, it inflates. I think that's probably the best. I actually saw an actual video a while back. I might put that up on my biker YouTube channel. I saw a video a while back about airbag type clothing. I thought that was pretty ingenious. But and one that comes up around the neck outside the crash helmet as well. I thought that one was quite ingenious. That might actually help with neck injuries and stuff, but I can't get my head around an idea of having an airbag on a bike. I just can't. I can't see that it would actually serve any real purpose. Right. Anything else? Because we have now been running for 44 minutes and 33 seconds without any fuck ups on this stream. Looks like I'm going to be doing it through Google. It is nuts, Mark. It is fucking nuts, man. Airbags on bikes. I mean, come on. Would you want an airbag on your bike? I think not. Airbag clothing, I can see as being a good idea. I can see that as being a good idea. Absolutely. But this is the problem, you see, these days. Everyone keeps coming up with these newfangled ideas, and some of them are just waste of bloody time and money. Absolute waste of time and money. And I'll tell you what I'm gonna do is, when I finish this stream, I'm gonna nip across to my biker YouTube channel, and maybe do a little stream over there as well. An attachment, yeah. If it, you have a little, all it takes is a little wire with like a little pin on it. You push the pin in, yeah, or maybe it's already attached, and you just hook it onto the bike handlebars. You leave the bike, it goes, and it inflates. You know what I mean? Inside your clothing. That, I think that I could actually get behind that, as long as the testing and everything was done properly, because that would save a lot of bruises and stuff. But also, being in clothing, you also want it so it's reversible, so that all the air inside the pads can be sucked out. You put a new air bottle on it, whatever the way that it would. Yeah, I think that to me would be a good idea. That to me would be a good idea, because we see how effective certain things are in motorcycle racing, for instance. Like the hump they have on the back of the clothing, that has saved so many riders serious spinal injuries. Now if they could incorporate something like that into a normal jacket that just sets off, then that I could actually get behind something like that. I could actually get behind something like that. But airbags on bikes, definitely not. Can't get behind that idea. So, any more questions people want to throw out there? This isn't my biker channel, remember. This is Dibber 39, me going off and hopefully trying to find a place where I can live, where I can actually have some peace. I actually have to take between 26 to 28 tablets a day. Yeah, this is something else. That also has an effect when it comes to my health. All that shit going inside you, all those chemicals, all that chalk going down into your kidneys and all that sort of stuff. It's not healthy. When you've stood there in front of the bog in the morning to take a piss, and you pass crystals and shit, and you collapse on the floor, and it happens regular as clockwork because of all this shit that you're putting in one end, maybe you might get a bit of a realization why I want to get away somewhere where I don't need to take all that shit. And taking painkillers, and some of the painkillers I take, one of the painkillers I take is opiate based. And if you ask Jester's Lab, Tony, Jester's Lab, I stayed at his house and I fell over there like a twat, getting half pissed. I tripped over a piece of stone that was sticking up at the top of his drive where he's just had a modification done, and I cracked my ribs here on the step outside his house. So of course, in my bag, I always carry particular meds. I have to take particular meds with me wherever I travel to. So I took a couple of my pain meds, and they'll tell you exactly what they do to me. And it's not pleasant when you're sitting there, trying to keep your brain together, and you're sitting there with a puke bowl in front of you, because I have an adverse effect to them as well. So it's it's not much fun. I'm telling you, it's I don't really go into too much detail about what all the medications do to me. I've done 3 bouts of chemo drugs. Anyone that's gone through chemo treatments will know how devastating that is. And that's even without having radiation done. Yeah, the radiation is major killer of people, but just the drugs on their own are freaking horrible. Really, really horrible. The side effects are horrible side effects. Yeah, well, the thing of it is, Mark, when it comes to do I have an actual date to return yet, you know, until I get myself some sort of way of you know, uh, somewhere to live. You see, you got to bear in mind, Mark. You know, this is I'm having to do all this, you know, on a fixed budget. Yeah, I cannot blow what I've got left renting an apartment and all this sort of stuff, because you have to have a fixed address as well. Fortunately, I've got people on the island said, nah, fixed address isn't going to be a problem for you. But at the end of the day, you know, I need somewhere where I can live at the most cost efficient way possible. And the most cost efficient way possible for me is to live in a camper, because you know what my plans are eventually. My plans are eventually is to do something in that field anyway. Yeah. So if I've already got my home, yeah, I don't have to worry about so much financial outgoings. I mean, like I say, I could return tomorrow. Yeah, I've been offered a place, but at the end of the day, that means breaking into what I've already got, which I'm going to need to take care of a lot of the legal stuff, as you well know. It all costs money. You know, it's this whole thing is just what's really shafting me is that fucking registration fee, because I won't be coming under there under EU free movement. I'll be coming over there to apply for residency, which is obviously, you know, is totally different. It's not under free movement of people. Because I object to that, I won't actually then be a fucking hypocrite and use that system. Okay, yes, I'm shafting myself up the arse to some extent, but at the end of the day, you know, if you believe in something, you stand by what you believe in. You don't be hypocritical. That's one of the things I can't stand, is people that are hypocritical. You know, they say, oh, this is what I believe in, and then they'll use the system that they're against, yeah, to further themselves. I totally object to that. So it's not something that I'm up for doing. So it's like I say, I want to make sure that I can stay there permanently as a resident and pay my taxes and everything else the same as everyone else has to. You know, it's I'm pretty fucking anal about all that stuff. And you also have to bear in mind that my great grandfather, when he came to live in the United Kingdom, when he came back to live in when he came to live in Britain, he came here as a military migrant. Yeah, he earned his right to stay here. Yeah, he went off and fought a world war. You know, and then when you've got that behind you as well, and it's been passed down through that line of the family. So my grandfather served, my father served. I signed up as a cadet when I was 13 to go into the Royal Artillery, and had it not for the fact that I smashed my left leg to fucking pulp, yeah, that's where I would have gone as well. It's just one of those things. You have a way of thinking, and some people might say, yeah, you're shafting yourself up the arse, but at the end of the day, you know, I'm not going to be a bloody hypocrite and, you know, campaign to leave the EU for 20 years and then start to take advantage of that. It's just not in my nature to do that. Imagine you're under the influence, dressed in airbag, park the bike, get off, still attached to the bike. Yeah, but then again, I wouldn't have injured ribs, would I? I think part of the problem was I'll tell you what, I'm lucky, right? Because we actually, I'm pretty lucky on that score, really. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. I could have whacked my head rather than a couple of ribs, but I'm just fortunate, yeah, couple of ribs. But yeah, I see what you mean. But then again, I wouldn't ride under the influence of alcohol anyway. So, you know, anyone who rides under the influence of alcohol is a fucking muppet as far as I'm concerned. I used to work in accident management. I worked in accident management for 2.5 years, and I've seen the results of, you know, drinking and driving up close and personal. Yeah, I was almost killed by a drunk driver at 9 o'clock in the morning in 1985. Spent a fair amount of time put into an induced coma, fractured 2 vertebrae in my spine, 2 in my neck, broke my collarbone, smashed my cheekbone, my lower jaw bone down here, my eye socket, yeah, loads of fingers, broke a leg, you know, fucked my pelvis. Yeah, Yeah, that's all thanks to somebody that had been pissed up the night before. So I've got a real big problem when it comes to people that drink and drive. A major league problem. Drinking and driving almost cost me my life, and it was somebody else's drinking and driving that almost took my life. I spent a long time in hospital. I had to, learn to walk again on all the bars. I was put in induced coma because of the internal injuries and the injuries that I had. I spent a whole long time in a body. It's not like hard plastic with padding inside. I had bars that were connected under here to this great big hard thing I had around my neck and all that, you know. So that's, what did you just try and post there, Ant Squirrely? Was it a URL link or something like that? Because they're blocked from being posted in my messages. You won't be able to post any URLs. Yeah, it does. Chemo sucks balls. And the thing of it is as well, and I'm really fortunate, you see, when any time that I've had to go on to that, I've got this really amazing mate that takes over looking after all my social medias and everything, because when I have to take that, man, that just fucks me up. All my beard falls out. The first thing to fall out is my beard. Literally, it just goes, I wake up and I've got a bed full of whiskers. So what I do now is, I learned that the first time, what I do now is if I ever have to go on that drug, the very first thing I do is get the old electric razor out and I take it off, because that's the first thing that falls out. Then the next thing that falls out is all the hair under my arms, off my chest and everywhere else, and even on my legs. My old mate Tony on the island, he found it quite amusing that he's, no, you haven't hardly got any hair on your legs and that. Yeah, well, that's 3 bouts of chemo since 2010. That's 3 bouts since 2010. It's not much fun. Definitely not much fun. And the thing of it is, the effects are not just at the time. The effects continue afterwards because of what it actually does to your body. I used to be a lot bigger than I am now, I can assure you of that. I used to weigh 11.5 stone, and it could vary between 11.5 stone to 11.75 stone. Now I can't get above 10.5 stone max, so it's even when I put on particular waistcoats and stuff, they look like a bag of shit on me because I just can't get the mass back on to fill them back up again. It takes its toll on you that way too. So it's not something I wish anyone go through. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't wish my worst enemy to go through that. I really just truly wouldn't. It is horrible. And those poor buggers that have to go through all that radiation stuff as well, man, fuck. I'm not even sure I'd actually want to be around if I had to go through all that as well. You know what I mean? I just not even sure I'd want to go through all that. I watched it all with friends of mine, because I've lost 2 or 3 friends through cancer, and they've had to have chemotherapy and radiation and stuff. And when I was diagnosed with the problem that I have with my bones, and they said, oh, we have to put you on this drug and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then I looked at it as a chemotherapy drug. They use it to treat breast cancer, testicular cancer, and, bladder cancer and all this type of stuff. I was terrified, I'll be honest with you. I was absolutely terrified. I just didn't, I thought to myself, God, shit, I'm going to go through all that shit that I've watched friends of mine go through and die. It was scary. It is scary. It's not something I would wish on my worst enemy, I can assure you of that. It is really scary shit. But I've been through it 3 times, just with the actual chemo type drugs. And I've worked quite closely, and I still do to this day, with a help group for people that get diagnosed with what I've got. It's a very, very rare bone disease. Very few people have it, the particular type that I have. But my local GP and also the specialists I see at the hospital, if they have people come in, what have you, especially if they're bikers, I'm one of the people they usually say, have a word with this guy, he's a biker, blah, 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 he might be able to help. And I've left an email address and everything. So, if there are bikers and that, they get diagnosed with what I've got, then my door's always open to them. You can get through it in that, but it's about what you got up here. You've got to go into it with the right mind. You know, there are a lot of people that have got what I've got that ended up taking their own lives, committed suicide. They've ended up on antidepressants because of the pain. You know, it's when you have like pain-related depression is a killer. Pain-related depression is an absolute killer. And as I say, I know of people that have taken their lives just because of pain. It's what I've got is a pretty gruesome, horrible disease. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. So, anybody else got any questions out there? I don't know if the chat's still working. The last comment I saw is from Ant Squirrely. Anybody else got any questions they'd like to put to me on here before I sign off? Because I've been on here for an hour now and 23 minutes. Yeah. That's probably why it was retracted. If you do editing and stuff on comments, it does tend to do that because I've got a filter on as well. So it's just to stop the fuckwittery of particular people. So anybody else got any more questions and shit before I do the off ski? This was only supposed to be a test video, so I might actually put it as unlisted. Because obviously an arranged live stream is, you know, basically to have just a little bit more of a laugh and stuff, but shit happens. At least a few of you managed to get to see an actual live stream from me, which is quite remarkable considering I haven't been able to get it to work before. Well, thankfully, right, and a lot of people seem to think that I wear a hat. Yeah, as you can see, look, I do have hair, but it's extremely thin. Right, I do have hair. It's very rare that I take my hat off, but yeah, you can see what the chemo's done to mine. It's never recovered there, but the hat has got nothing to do with that. The hat is a cultural thing. So I've worn a hat since I was 14. I'll see you soon, Mark. Me and you will have a little chat over on Facebook. Now I know that if I use particular servers, you know, browsers, I might even be able to get the old camera to work over on Facebook Messenger, and we can have a proper chat instead of all that typing bollocks. Although I do like to type a lot because it keeps my bones and everything working properly on my fingers. But yeah, we will have a chat over on Facebook Messenger. But yeah, right. Oh, look, I've just received a message from Facebook. Tell us more about the hat. Right, okay, I'll tell you more about the hat. Okay, right, before I close, I'll tell you a little bit about the hat. I can't understand why you are deciding to instead of through it, but okay, the hat. There is a reason for the hat, and it is cultural. Okay, it's cultural. I do come from a mixed race. I'm mixed race myself. Yeah, and the mixture is quite vast. So as you can see, I have a Coptic cross on my arm. Yeah, my great grandfather was Coptic, and they lived in Haifa, which is in today's Israel. It's called Palestine back then. So my great-great-grandfather was Coptic. My great-grandfather followed his father, Coptic. My great-great-grandmother, yeah, the word Jew is a modern construct, but they use the tribal name. Yeah, they come from a tribal group. Which is why in one of my videos when I'm talking to somebody, it's been edited a little bit because I use the tribal name for where they came from. Yeah, and I'm not even going to use it here because it can cause a lot of fucking ooh-ha. Yeah, but we use the tribal name of where we came from. So when my great grandfather came to live here, he married an English woman. Yeah. But his son, my grandfather, yeah, he married a woman that was part British and part Sephardic. And my dad took on the Sephardi. So, yeah, so he took on a lot of the Jewish stuff. But for me, I continued on with the Coptic and the Christian side because my mum is devout Christian. So I followed that line down. Yeah, so that's. But I'm a bit of a mix. So I've got Middle Eastern Arab, British, yeah. Then with the Sephardi, they come from the Spain and North Africa. So I've got a little bit of a mix in the old DNA there. But my mum's line go way all back British. So yeah, so I've got a little bit of a mix in there. Yeah. Hi there, Alan Starr. Yes, I did. I got it up and working at long last. And I'll tell you what it was. I have to go through Google Chrome. Doesn't like working in Firefox or Safari. I have to go through Google Chrome. So all this time, if I'd gone through Google Chrome, I could have probably done live streams a lot sooner. And this one has actually stayed solid for 1 hour, 6 minutes and 10 seconds. I always tried to stay well, and I always tried to stay well. You've got positive mind, you see. You've got to have a positive mind. Yeah, as soon as you start letting that old mind slip, then it's all over. A strong mind keeps you going. So, any other questions? Right, this hat, yeah, so it's cultural, and it goes back to the Coptic line, and the hat is there. Although I'm not a really heavily spiritual person, I've worn it since I was 14. I've worn a hat since I was 14. It's extremely rare that people see me without it out in public, but it's a reminder that there is something greater than myself. That's all it is. But it's cultural. It's a cultural thing. And it doesn't matter whether it's this one or whether it's a baseball cap, you know, whatever. A trilby hat, you keep the crown covered. And that's what it's for. It's just to remind you that there is something greater than yourself. Whether or not you believe in religion or not is irrelevant. You know, I'm not a heavily religious person. As far as I'm concerned, it's words of men written by men to control other men. That's it. Yes, I'm doing well. Thank you very much, Alan. Just a little bit miffed that I can't get out and ride my bike yet because I've fucked up a couple of ribs while I was over in Malta. But yeah, other than that, I'm doing fine, thanks. I'm actually a little bit at the minute because I'm on one of my painkillers, and one of my particular painkillers makes me feel like I'm speeding my nuts off. Another one just makes me feel like I'm as sick as a dog. I've had worse, Alan. I've busted up ribs before. In my big crash, I did a whole load down this side, and you know, they take months and months and months to heal. They literally take months, and that's even if you just bruise them. They still take a long time to get back to normal. It just seems to be the way with ribs, you know. Busted up legs and stuff, you know. I've been out and, you know, got over that in no time, but ribs, oh man, they hurt. But then that's my own fault for getting half pissed. You know what I mean? So getting half pissed when you don't normally drink. I used to be a big time drinker back in the day, especially when I owned my pub. I used to get up in the morning, go down. Breakfast was with a pint of ale because I'm a real ale drinker. Regular as clockwork, I was consuming 8 to 12 pints of ale throughout the space of a whole day and into the evening. So I was a big time drinker at one time. I used to go out with the lads, and we never used to order glasses of rum. We used to buy the bottle. And so I used to be a big time drinker, but because of the medications I have to take, of which a couple of them I don't need to take once, you know, there's particular anti-inflammatory drugs that I have to take to keep swelling down in my joints when I go out somewhere where the climate is a whole lot better. I don't have to take those. The inflammation just disappears, which allows me then to go, hey. And that's the situation. What happened? I went out, hey, and the tolerances are not as good as they used to be. Let's just say that. What's your advice to the people with Sons of Anarchy tattoos? I think they're a bunch of fuckwits, to be quite honest with you. And I'm sorry if you've got one yourself, yeah, but that's just how it is. They're a bunch of fuckwits. Fancy putting a television show on your body? I mean, really? I mean, it's one thing to wear the fucking patches, but to then have it tattooed on your body? Nah, no way, man. No way. I think they're fools. Absolute fools. You know, I mean, putting a television show on your body, I mean, come on. And especially Sons of Anarchy, for fuck's sake. You know, myself, I mean, I've done the whole club thing. You won't find no club tattoos on me anywhere. And I've been the real thing. And no club tattoos on me. I think it's a foolish thing to do. So any more before I disappear out of here, and because it's what, 3 o'clock and my stomach is telling me it's time for dinner. So I'm going to be doing the Oski pretty soon, going to have me dinner. So any more? Right, there's 4 of you there. I guess I'm boring people to shit now. No, you don't have them. Yeah, well done, Alan. You know, it's one thing to be into a television show, yeah, but when you start to imitate that out in the real world, yeah, in some respects it can have come back on you. Yeah, but to have that tattooed on your body is just, it beggars belief that people are really that stupid to go out and have that tattooed on their body. I mean, have a Reaper or whatever, by all means. But once you start having it done for the television show, nah. I mean, I've got tattoos. I've shown one just now. I've got other tattoos. I've got that big tattoo up here. I've got another one up here, but no way would I ever have anything to do with a television show tattooed on me. And as I say, I've done the whole club thing. I haven't even got any of those tattoos on my body from those days either. I personally think it's foolish, but there you go. That's just me. You know. Anyway, I'm going to do the off ski. I'll probably make this video unlisted or something and post it up on my website, because I have got a website. I just haven't got round to promoting it all yet. I've got a t-shirt shop, so if anybody wants a t-shirt, yeah, I do have a t-shirt shop. There's a link to it in the banner on my YouTube channel. On this one, I won't put anything over on my biker channel. I also got a PayPal if you know, somebody fancies dropping that 2,300 euros. I still can't get my head around that. Anyway, what do I think about the Mayans TV show? That's from Johnny Walker Red. I obviously, curiosity, I watched the first episode, and I have to say, that's even worse than what he did with Sons of Anarchy. It's just, it just propagates this idea that all motorcycle clubs that wear a patch on their back are murderers, drug dealers, into all sorts of fucking evilness, you know, backsliding each other, backstab. No. Personally, I mean, I've got my own opinion on Kurt Sutter, and my opinion is the guy's a total cunt. And I'm sorry about the language, but I think he shouldn't be doing anything really to do with motorcycle clubs. I totally object to it. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on it, and you know, they're my thoughts. I mean, other people obviously have their own opinions on this stuff, but for me, yeah, it would have been one thing to have a group of guys riding around on motorbikes and doing all that shit, yeah, but the moment they started to deal with putting patches on people, making it appear that it's motorcycle clubs, to me, that's no better than what Gangland does. Yeah. It just feeds the myth. It just feeds the myth, because most of what you see on Gangland and everything, yeah, and especially with Sons of Anarchy, it's all based on myths. It's just bullshit to sell. That's it. That's real club life is nothing like that at all. I think actually, if you did a fly on the wall, a real fly on the wall, and I know other clubs have done these types of documentaries where they've allowed the cameras in, but I think if you did a real fly on the wall for most motorcycle clubs, and as my old mate Mark pointed out the other day, yeah, a real fly on the wall documentary about real motorcycle clubs, it wouldn't sell. People would be bored. They'd be bored within the first episode, you know, because people in motorcycle clubs, they lead the normal lives the same as everybody else. We wake up in the morning, we have to take a shit, shower, shave, shampoo. Yeah, some of us don't shave. Do you know what I mean? Go to work, earn your money, spend time with your family. Do you know what I mean? All this type of stuff. It isn't all like action packed like it is you see on there. That's not what it's like. You know, people in motorcycle clubs live normal lives the same as everybody else. It's just that they choose to live a different way of living. Yeah, that's it. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Hour and 15 minutes without it collapsing. That's pretty good going. It looks like it's going to be Google Chrome from now on. You all stay safe. As I said, I've got a website. Yeah, I've got a website, so I'm going to start promoting that. I've got a t-shirt shop. If you want to help me out at all, buy a t-shirt. Yeah, because every little penny from that I make in profit goes towards what I want to do. And I also have a PayPal. I'm not going to go down that Patreon road. I don't think that's right. But there we go. I do have a Patreon, but I don't promote it or anything like that. Anyway, I'll catch you all later. And those of you that tuned in, thanks very much. And stay safe, because there's a lot of fucking idiots out there. And I'm one of them.